My name is Noor. I am from Syria. Before the war, I had a life. It was not big, it was not rich, but it was full of love. I lived in a small house. It had white walls and a blue door. My favorite place was our little garden. My mother planted flowers there, yellow, red, and purple. I helped her water them. Every morning I touched the flowers with my fingers. They were soft and warm from the sun. I lived with my family. My mother cooked for us. She made soup with lentils and warm bread. The smell filled the house. When I came home from school, I always knew dinner was ready. I hugged my mother from behind. She laughed and kissed my hair. My father was kind. He worked at a small shop. Every night he told us stories. He sat on the floor, and my little brother and I sat beside him. Sometimes he made funny faces. We laughed until our bellies hurt. My father's voice was deep. It made me feel safe. My little brother was 5 years old. His name was Sami. He liked to draw. He drew animals, cars, and sometimes our house with flowers. He gave me one of his drawings and said, "This is you, Noor. You are smiling." I kept it near my bed. I went to school 5 days a week. I liked English class. I liked writing words on the blackboard. My teacher said I was smart. I had 2 best friends, Lena and Amal. We walked to school together. On the way, we picked small white flowers from the side of the road. We put them in our notebooks. We played in the schoolyard. We jumped rope. We shared snacks. Sometimes we sang songs in the classroom when the teacher was late. One of our songs was about the moon. I still remember the words. In the evening, I sat in the garden with my mother. She held a cup of tea. I read my school book out loud. My father sat near us, fixing a broken chair. My brother played with stones on the ground. The birds sang in the trees. The sky turned orange. The wind was soft. Everything felt slow. Everything felt safe. Sometimes at night, we had no electricity, but we didn't mind. My father lit a candle. We all sat together in one room. We told stories, we laughed, and we dreamed. I dreamed of becoming a teacher. I wanted to help children learn. I told my mother, one day I will have a big classroom with many books and children who smile. She smiled back and said, "You will, my light, you will." I did not know then that life could change so fast. But in those days, we had peace. We had school. We had music. We had bread. We had each other. We had a life. And it was full of small, beautiful things. I was just a girl, but I was happy. I was safe. I was loved. It was a normal morning. The sun came up. The sky was blue. Birds sang in the trees. My mother made tea. My little brother, Sami. My father had already left for work. I was brushing my hair. I was thinking about school. Then we heard it, a sound in the sky, loud, fast, angry. My mother froze. Her cup of tea dropped to the floor. It broke. The sound came closer. And then the first bomb. Boom! The house shook. The windows broke. Dust fell from the ceiling. My mother grabbed my hand. "We have to go," she shouted. We ran outside. The street was full of people. Some were running, some were screaming. Children cried. Mothers called for their sons. Smoke filled the air. The sky, once blue, turned gray. More bombs fell. Boom, boom, boom. I looked up. The airplanes were black dots above us. They dropped fire from the sky. "My father!" I shouted. "Sami!" My mother and I ran toward my father's shop, but the shop was gone. Only pieces were left: wood, glass, metal. The ground was black. There was fire. There was blood. My mother fell to her knees. "No," she said. "No, no." I looked around. Everything was broken. The buildings were falling. The streets were covered in dust and screams. I saw a boy sitting on the ground. He held a girl in his arms. She was small. She was not moving. Her face was white. Her eyes were closed. "She is my sister," the boy said. "She is cold." My heart broke. My hands were shaking. My eyes were full of smoke. I could not breathe. I could not cry. I could only run. We ran toward home. I needed to find Sami, but when we got close, I stopped. Our house was gone. Only a wall was left, one blue door, and fire. I screamed, "Gamairi!" No answer. I ran closer. "Gamairi!" Still nothing. My mother pulled me back. Her face was gray with dust. Her hands were bleeding. Her leg was cut. She could not walk well, but she still held me. "We must go," she said. "We are not safe here." "But Samhi," I said. She looked at me. Her eyes were full of tears. "We will find him," she whispered. "We must stay alive." We moved with the crowd. People pushed. People cried. A woman held a baby with no shoes. An old man was carrying 2 small bags and coughing. A girl held her grandmother's hand. Her eyes were wide with fear. Someone shouted, "Help! My son is under the wall." Another voice, "Is there a doctor, please? I saw a man on fire." People tried to put water on him. He screamed and fell. I wanted to close my eyes, but I could not. I had to see. I had to remember. This was my home. This was my street. But now it looks like a nightmare. Everything I loved was broken. I held my mother's hand tight. Her blood ran down her arm. She was shaking. Her lips were dry. But she kept moving. She did not stop. I heard someone say, "Go to the school. It is now a safe place." We walked for a long time. My shoes were torn. My feet hurt. My back hurts. But I kept walking. At the school, many people had gathered. Some sat on the floor, some cried, some prayed. There was no food, no water, only dust and fear. My mother sat down slowly. Her leg was getting worse. I put a blanket under her. I held her hand. The school was full of pain. A girl was looking for her father. A boy was looking for his dog. A mother held a baby who was not breathing. I sat near a broken wall. I looked at my hands. They were dirty. They were shaking. I thought of Sami, his little hands, his drawings. His voice called to me, "Noor, come see my picture." I closed my eyes and I cried, not loud, just soft tears. The world had changed in one morning. One day I had flowers and school and laughter. Next, I had dust, blood, and silence. I was only a girl, but I had lost so much. And I did not know where my brother was. We crossed the border 2 days after the bombs. We walked for hours. My mother was in pain, but she kept going. People helped us. A man gave her water. A woman gave me a scarf. We followed the crowd. No one spoke much. Only the sound of crying, coughing, and feet on dust. Finally, we reached the camp. It was not a real place, just tents in a big field. White tents, brown ground, gray sky. The camp was near the mountains. Cold wind came from the hills. The sun felt far away. They gave us a tent. It was small and thin. The floor was hard. At night, the cold came in. My mother and I shared one blanket. We slept close together. But even then, I still shivered. There was no electricity, no light at night, only the moon if it was kind. We used candles, but they were few. Sometimes I sat in the dark and listened to the wind. It sounded like voices. Sometimes it sounded like my father calling my name. There was water, but it was not clean. It tasted like rust. It smelled strange, but we drank it. We had to. The line for water was long. I waited every morning with a small bottle. Some days the water ran out before it was my turn. Food was also a problem. They gave us a small piece of bread each day, some rice, some oil, no fruit, no vegetables. I was hungry most of the time. My mother gave me her bread sometimes. I said no, but she smiled and said, "You are young. You need it more." Her smile was soft, but her eyes were empty. Every day I looked around the camp. I saw pain on every face. Next to our tent was a little girl named Layla. She was 6. Her parents were gone. No one knew where they were. She stayed with an old woman who had no teeth. Layla cried at night. She called for her mother in her sleep. Across from us was a man who used to be a doctor. He had kind eyes and quiet hands. He helped the sick, but he had no medicine, only cloth, water, and hope. My mother's leg was still bad. It was red and swollen. The doctor washed it and said she needs real care, real medicine. But there was none. He gave her a piece of cloth and said, "Rest." I tried to keep our tent clean. I swept the dirt with a small branch. I fold our blankets every morning. I washed our 2 cups at the water line. It made me feel useful. It made me feel human. But I missed my old life. I missed my school, my blackboard, my desk, my books. I missed my friends, Lena and Amal. I wondered if they were safe. I wondered if they also missed our walks to school and the white flowers on the side of the road. I missed my father, his stories, his laugh. I missed Sami, my little brother, his drawings, his small hands. Every night I dreamed of my father's voice. "Tell me a story, Baba," I would say. And in my dream he said, "Once upon a time there was a brave girl named Noor." Then I woke up, cold, alone, in a tent. One night my mother touched my hair and said, "You are strong." I shook my head. "I am just tired." She said nothing after that. In the camp, time moved slowly. The days were long, the nights were longer. We waited for food, for water, for news. We waited for something to change. Some children played in the dirt. They drew pictures with sticks, houses, trees, smiling faces. I watched them, but I could not play. My smile was lost. There was a small corner in the camp where people sang. They sang old songs, soft and sad. One woman played a drum made from an old pot. Sometimes my mother sat near them. She did not sing, but she listened. One day I found a notebook near the water line. It was wet and torn, but some pages were dry. I kept it. I wanted to write, but I did not know what to say. What do you write when your world is gone? Ill, I opened it and wrote, "My name is Noor. I am from Syria. I live in a tent. I sleep in the cold. I miss my father. I miss my brother. I dream of light." Then I closed the book. One day I found a pen. It was old. The ink was almost dry, but it still worked. I opened my notebook, the one I had found near the water line. I looked at the first page again. "My name is Noor. I am from Syria." I read the words out loud, slowly, carefully. Then I began to write more. Each day, I wrote one small sentence. That was all I had space for. That was all my heart could give. Today we had no bread. Today my mother did not speak. Today Layla cried for her mother. Today we waited 3 hours for water. I wrote in English. I wanted someone to read it, someone far away, someone who had clean water and warm beds and lights at night. I thought if they read it, maybe they would care. I wrote and wrote. I wrote on every dry page I had. When I was done, I folded the notebook. I wrapped it in plastic. I gave it to a woman who was leaving the camp. She was going to another country. She said she would try to give it to someone who could help. I said, please give it to a teacher or a writer or a kind person. She nodded. Then she left. I never heard back, but I still wrote on bags, on paper scraps, on old boxes, on the inside of my tent. I used coal, I used ash, I used a broken pencil. I wrote the truth, simple, small, real. My hands are cold. My mother is sick. We are not safe. I did not know if anyone would see my words, but I believed they mattered. Sometimes I looked at the sky and whispered, are we not children too? Do we not feel hunger and pain? Do we not cry when we lose someone we love? I saw pictures once from the outside world on a man's broken phone. He had photos of tall buildings, clean rooms, smiling people, and food in large bowls. I stared at one photo for a long time. A little girl was laughing. She held a cup of juice. Her dress was yellow. Her shoes were white. Her cheeks were red. I looked at my feet. No shoes, just dust. My dress was torn. My hands were cracked. I asked the man, where is this? He said, it's you. I said, does she know about us? He said nothing. That night, I wrote, you drink clean water. I drink from a broken pipe. Please look at me. You sleep in soft beds. I sleep on the ground. Please hear me. You have lights. I sit in darkness. Please see me. I was angry, but more than angry, I was tired. Tired of waiting, tired of silence. I wanted to scream, but screaming changed nothing. So I wrote. My words became my voice. Each word was small, but together they were strong. Other children in the camp saw me writing. One boy said, will your words go to the world? I said, I hope so. He said, can you write my name too? So I did. I wrote his name. I wrote Layla's name. I wrote the doctor's name. And so I said, I didn't miss a single word. I wrote my mother's name. We were not just numbers. We were not just a camp. We were people. We had names. We had stories. We were here. But the world was quiet. Still, I believed in something. I believed in paper. I believed in ink. I believe that if you write something true, someone, somewhere will read it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day. I did not write to ask for pity. I wrote to say, we are alive. We matter. Please don't forget us. I ended every page with the same word, hope. Years passed. I stayed in the camp. I grew taller. My hair grew longer, my voice grew stronger, but my mother grew weaker. Her leg never healed. She got sick. There were no real doctors, no real medicine. We tried everything we had: warm water, prayers, quiet songs, but nothing helped. One night, she held my hand and said, "You are my light, Nor." Then she closed her eyes, and she did not wake up. I sat beside her until the sun came up. I buried her with the help of others. We marked her grave with stones. I placed a flower on top, a yellow one, just like the ones we used to grow. After that, I lived with Layla and the doctor and a few other people. We shared food, stories, and silence. I was not a child anymore, but I remembered what it felt like. One day, a teacher came to the camp. She was young. She was kind. She started a small school under a tree. She asked, "Who here speaks English?" I raised my hand. She smiled. "Can you help me?" I nodded. That is how I became a teacher. I taught children how to say their names, how to ask for water, how to say, "I am sad," and "I need help." I taught them the words I had once written in my notebook: hope, light, dream, peace. Every morning, we sat in a circle. I asked them to speak. Some were shy, some were scared, but I told them, "Your voice matters." I said it again and again, even if it is small, even if it shakes. It matters. Some children drew pictures, some wrote little poems, some just smiled for the first time in weeks. I saw something in their eyes. Not fear, not silence, but light. They reminded me of my brother, of my father, of my mother's voice in the garden, and I remembered something. My name is Noor. In Arabic, it means light. I said that out loud to my students one day. They all looked at me. One boy asked, "Why did they name you that?" I thought for a moment. Then I said, "Maybe because they believed I would shine, even when everything else went dark." The children clapped. It was small, but it was joy. At night, I sat under the stars. The world was still full of pain. The camp was still cold. The food was still small. But my heart was not empty anymore. I had a purpose. I had a voice, and I would use it. I picked up a stick and wrote in the dirt beside me, "I am Noor. I am still here. I am still